Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic and massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, and a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, television, radio, everybody streaming as well. Here in the AMP TV studio in fabulous Las Vegas, right from the very top of the show, we have a very special guest. In fact, we're going to let him introduce himself because the accolades would probably take us all the way to commercial break. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Tim Brando of Fox Sports. It's great to be in the circus with you, Sal.
All right. Hey, listen, Tim, it's welcome to have you back. It's always a great thing to have you on the show. I want to ask you a couple of quick questions. I know you're on a time schedule today. I want to get into right away the realignment of college football and how that changes the landscape of not only the conferences, but also the broadcast schedule. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I'll be honest. I think it's had very little effect in terms of what we do in TV. It's just the affiliations are different and the games are better. I think what we've done is we've seen an improvement in the level of games being played. By example, the Pac-12 blowing up as it did certainly was bad news for Washington State and without question Oregon State, in the immediacy of it all. But at the same time, if you look at their schedules and the way they were able to map out their schedules, they had control of who they would play in their non-conference. They kept all of the money, but because of the lawsuit that was brought, they got all of the money that the other schools might have had to keep them going. And now with the Pac-12 procuring the teams from the Mountain West, like Boise State and a few others, they are now going to be sharing the wealth again. And the games themselves and the teams that they're going to be playing within their league give them a better chance, I think, to shine and maybe win a conference championship. All the while, they're still playing good people. By example, Oregon State's going to play a game at Texas Tech in week 3. That's a game that's going to be on Big Fox. Devin Gardner and I will be doing it. And it'll be a pretty competitive game. Texas Tech may win the Big 12. They're really good. Oregon State is a team that is improving, maybe a year or two away, but at the same time, that's a quality opponent for them to play non-conference. And who they play as a functioning independent beyond the game with Wazoo, which they play as a fellow Pac-2 member now, that's money in the bank for them. The time of the games, like for instance, those Big Ten games involving Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA are still played at the same times. It's just the opponents that are coming in to play them are a hell of a lot more nationally significant than some of the teams they might have been playing had it been just the Pac-12. So I actually think it's been a really good transition for us in TV. Now, I get the history lesson that I get from all the Pac-12 types about, man, I miss our league. I miss the way it was played. I miss the regionality of it all. But if you think about it, the Pac-12 was the most spread out of all the conferences in terms of the territory covered between places like, Pullman, Washington, and Denver, Colorado, Arizona on a long road trip to say playing at Eugene. That's a long trip for them. You forget about that sometimes if you're not from the area. But if you're from the area and it's been part of your tradition, the entire life that you've led, I get where maybe you miss it some. Traditionalists would feel that way about a lot of different things. I know Arkansans, still some of them are like, man, I miss the Southwest Conference. Well, yeah, you miss it, but guess what? You've been in the SEC since 1992. So we all evolve, and we all have to adapt. And if we don't, we get left, out to sea. And the college game, I think, has never been better. It's never flourished more. It's never made more money. It's never had more viewership. But at the same time, it's the sport that's changing the most, and it's difficult sometimes for people to keep up with all those changes that are taking place. But I'll say this, Sal, with a grain of salt, because it's true. College football fans tend to be a lot more tribal than pro sports fans. They really care about their teams, and on a weekly basis, they may care a little about the teams that are going to play against their team. Other than that, they really don't care. Until it comes time for us to be, selecting what 12 teams might be in the college football playoff. And then that tribalism shows up again if their teams don't make it in, and it's a wire-thin vote on the part of the committee.
Right. And as I look at the way that conferences have reshaped and reformed, and I think demographically it works. I think geographically some situations might be a big challenge, of course, going from the East Coast to the West Coast in the Big Ten or even in the ACC. But ultimately, the biggest concern that I have with this is going to be the way the playoff, the college football playoff, has evolved, and where is it going to go? Are they going to take it into certain bowl games outside of their standard bowl games, if you will, as they expand to 12 teams, and who knows, maybe 16 teams is the right number? I don't even know what the right number is. Tim, what do you think the right number is for the college football playoff?
I think 16 is the final number, and I think that's the number we'll stay once we get there. Now they've got to figure out, the format structure. That's still the ongoing debate between the commissioner of the Big Ten and the commissioner of the SEC, and we'll see which one latches on. I love the Big Ten 4-4-2-2 with the at-larges and the guaranteed spot for the group of five. And I'll tell you the reason, Sal. I want to remove as much of the subjectivity as we have out of the committee's hands and let it be more about what's done on the field. So if you have more automatic qualifiers within those conferences, be it the 2 in the ACC, the 2 in the Big 12, and the 4 each in the Big 10 and the SEC, that's less work for the committee to have to do. When we leave it up to committees and it gets political, that's when we have problems. And we've already seen examples of knee-jerk reactions to what may have happened, a year earlier. When Florida State was left out in favor of Alabama, that was a travesty. People knew it. As a result, what happened a year ago? Alabama was left out so that SMU could get in after a really good performance in a losing cause against Clemson in the ACC title. So it's pick and choose your level of human error based on knee-jerk reactions by what? Human beings. So the less they have to be involved, the better, I think. So, but 16 is the right number. And once you get past the gnashing of teeth over, who got left out and who really should have been in over the other one, then that lasts about, a couple of days, maybe 3, a little bit like the teams that are left out of the NCAA tournament. Once you get past those 24 to 48 hours, it's still a great event. I thought last year, after the really negative press that came from the way the first round went and the way the seeding was placed for certain teams getting buys that really shouldn't have had buys. All those teams got knocked out, by the way. It was all the teams that played the initial week that moved on, and the teams that had buys, like Boise State, like Arizona State, like Oregon, those teams got bounced, when it was time for them to play. So I think that it's once we got to the 8 teams away from the 12 and we got down to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, I thought it was exciting. I thought it was tremendous. The biggest problem with it wasn't the actual level of play or the games themselves. It was the fact that it lasted too long, and it was competing with NFL wildcard games and divisional playoff round games. We need to start the season. The biggest problem facing college football now on a national level, in my opinion, is not the NIL, not the portal. That's going to get some guardrails soon. I love what the president did in terms of the executive order to help light a fire under the people that really need to understand. The leaders need to understand of college football that we can't wait on Congress to get these things done. You got to run your business, and that means we've got a council in place that's going to make sure that there are quote unquote limits to the amounts of money that can be offered to these players, and it's time for us to understand that the game needs to end at or near New Year's Day. Like I'll be doing a game week 0 a week from Saturday in Kansas. They open their new stadium. Devin Gardner, Josh Sims, and I will be there for that. It's the first game on Big Fox this year, week 0. It'll be a 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, 5:30 Central Time start. And there's no reason why that game couldn't be played this past Saturday or next Saturday.
You know, Tim, that's a great point. And honestly, I don't like these starts the way they're set up. We're going to be back here with the great Tim Brando in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today. Don't let your retirement accounts get caught off guard by trade and tariff wars. Learn why a Genesis Gold IRA is the #1 choice for thousands of Americans across the nation. 800-709-4423. 800-709-4423. 800-709-4423. That's 800-709-4423.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Folks, they've been with us since the very beginning. Make sure that you check out the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends over on WDJY 99.1 FM over in the greater Atlanta market. Thanks for waking up with us. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, that is home of the Atlanta Braves, stretching from Montgomery, Alabama, all the way over to Columbus, Georgia. Thanks for driving home with us. Everybody else up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, those driving between Las Vegas and sunny Southern California, on Interstate 15, listening in on Highway Country Radio. Thanks for joining us, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM, all the way up through the West Coast, up to Anchorage, down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Alabama Crimson Tide, the New York Yankees, and the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, everybody also watching Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wow, Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there. Also on hotel television, where applicable, plus everybody else streaming. And that's, of course, on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, etc., so forth. No, folks, I don't have this written down. It's just something that I seem to do on a regular basis. I do it every show. And unfortunately, I have to do it because, hey, we got to do what we got to do. Just like with Vacation Buddies, want to make sure that we get this out there for everybody listening. Here's a shot at a couple of nights in fabulous Las Vegas, or in Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you can answer this simple trivia question. Which one of these NFL running backs was known as Sweetness? Was it A, Herschel Walker, B, Bo Jackson, C, Franco Harris, or D, Walter Payton? If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with the station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to that simple trivia question. Which of these NFL superstar running backs, we'll just call them all Hall of Famers, which one of them is known by the name of Sweetness? Is it Herschel Walker, A, Bo Jackson, B, Franco Harris, C, or Walter Payton, D? 888-576-5777. All right, back here with the great Tim Brando, and Tim being a Fox broadcaster for Fox Sports. He's been 42 years in the business, and man, Tim has just seen it all. We're left off in the last segment talking about college football, the start of college football, how come it can't start at a certain time and so forth, talking about Big Fox. And I have to say, this is really good information, kind of the business side of football and television contracts. A lot of the shows that are out there don't get this kind of information, or they don't get this kind of dialogue because they're always worried about, well, we can't say this, we can't say that. But Tim is an esteemed guest here, of course, on the circus, and we love having him back. And Tim, welcome back to the show. And I want you to pick up right where you left off before we went to commercial break.
Why are we starting it? What's the difference really between August the 10th and August the 23rd? Let's start the season earlier so that we can have the playoffs begin sooner, and we can have our championship game, whenever it is and wherever it is, played at or just around New Year's Day, like it used to be. New Year's Day used to be owned by college football. It's not any longer. In fact, we've got really some insignificant games that are being played that have nothing to do with the playoff. Those games need to be played when college football fans historically are accustomed to watching those games. Not get lost after a 2 or 3 week layoff between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs, and then running up against divisional and wild card weekend in the NFL. We know how much attention the NFL will always get over every other property in sports. There's no reason for college football to try to contend with that. And the NFL is not going to move. I mean, they are they are a god to the networks. Okay, every network is invested in the National Football League. Every network is not invested into college football. So I think it's important and imperative, really, that college football moves its calendar up so that we can finish again closer or at January 1. And if not January 1, January 3rd, January 2nd, somewhere in there. Because that's when the viewership for college football is accustomed to watching its biggest games.
Right, I would agree. And the things that I always remember as a kid is the Rose Parade and then the Rose Bowl. And the Rose Bowl actually meant something. And New Year's Day, you were right. There were, 6 games, 7 games, whatever, on New Year's Day. And that was college football's day. But now let's think about this. As these conferences expand, are we going to see the SEC and the Big Ten and possibly the ACC and or Big 12 go to 20 teams, possibly 24, 4 divisions of 5 or 4 divisions of 6? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the possibility is there, but we'll have to wait until the next television contracts come up, and that's going to be another 5 years or more. So these TV contracts are pretty much brand new, and the college football playoff one that's supposed to start with 16 teams next year is still yet to be signed. Now, it's a fait accompli. Most believe that ESPN will have total control of all of it, and it may well. Right now, it's a losing proposition economically because they really overpaid for it just to make sure that they kept it. And what did you see them do? They sold off, subleased a couple of their playoff games to Turner, and Turner had the time to give because it was trying to make sure they were able to keep their cable rates up with live sports. And after losing the NBA, they had to do it. Okay, so they paid ESPN for the rights to carry a couple of games. I think it was Notre Dame, Indiana, and it was also the Penn State SMU game. People couldn't find the game. Turner's not been carrying college football in forever. But it also kept ESPN from having to air those games opposite what? NFL playoff games. So it was smart on their part to get rid of them. But that just tells you they tried to make some of the money back they were losing by subleasing those games to Turner.
What I find interesting, Tim, is the business side of sports. And I do a lot of that here on this show, on the Sports Circus, because a lot of people don't get a chance to hear the business end. And I love this dialogue that you're giving us because, let's face it, most people don't even know. Example, maybe we don't know where to find this game or that game, just like what you're talking about with Turner. How many times have we as viewers gone hunting for a game and for the life of us, we just can't seem to find it?
That's true. Absolutely true. I'll give you a recommendation. At some point, you should have Michael Mulvihill on your show. He is the analytics vice president of production who handles all of the scheduling. He's the creator of the Big Noon concept. Michael is a really bright guy. Whatever the viewing trends are of sports fans, the statistical data that's out there, he knows all about it. And we're just one of the hot stories of the day is the new bundle that's been put out with ESPN and Fox One. That's one of the hot stories that's out there now. The new sports bundle, that cable's way of being against streaming video. We got to bundle it together now. It's funny how deep competitors. There are no stronger competitors in sports television today than Fox and ESPN. But you see in our business how strange bedfellows can form when it's for the common good of everyone making some money.
Right.
That's how our industry's always worked.
Show me the money!
But I'll tell you this, without a doubt, Michael knows it. He gets it and understands it. And there's far more analytics that are involved now with where these games are placed and why they're placed there than we had before. By example, most people don't know that the NBC and CBS games that you see that involve Big Ten teams now, those games were part of a contract that the Big Ten made with the NBC and the CBS deals to rotate the second and third games each week and get additional revenue streams from those networks that desperately wanted to stay involved in college football. Yet it was Fox that negotiated those deals with those two networks. Okay, Fox still holds the number one position and has the best games every week. But that second and third game will rotate between CBS and NBC. Well, those games prior to 2 years ago would have been games that would have been either on Fox or on FS1. We owned the entire Big Ten deal. So as a result, now the Big 12, which has added Colorado, added Arizona State, those teams are now getting some primo positions on Fox and other day parts, 3:30 time period, the 7 o'clock Eastern time period. So it's helped that league to some extent. But we took a little bit of a hit in terms of Big Noon being the number one time slot in college football last year. That went to the SEC with the new 3:30 window, which was for years the number one window when I was working at CBS, and we had the SEC on CBS when I was in the studio with Spencer Tillman. So,
all right, Tim, hold that thought. We're going to go to break real quick. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. That's 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All-American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-476-6087. 800-476-6087. 800-476-6087.
Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hi, this is Tim Brando of Fox Sports. You're listening to the Sports Circus with my man Sal Tuzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, plus all other streaming platforms, even on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group. Talk about your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes, your favorite foods. Make some friends, have some fun. That is Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. Nice round of applause for them. Yes! Make sure you like and follow and join the group. Have some fun. And folks, by the way, make sure you also check out the sportscircus.com's partners page. Lots of great partners over there. And in fact, our favorite is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, and of course the big Italian fest that's going on, I think from the 14th of August over to the 17th of August. Boy, that is one hell of a good time. Great food, great music, lots and lots of people. And I tell you what, folks, it's one of the more fun environments that you can go to as a street fair in these United States of America. Check out the Italian Fest. And that's brought together by Onesti Entertainment. Ron Onesti, one of our friends here at the Sports Circus. So you check out Onesti Entertainment online as well. And by the way, folks, if you can't get over to Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street, check them out online at alsbeef.com, and that's alsbeef.com. Read all about the great food and the creation of the Italian beef sandwich their family created 117 years ago. They opened up a restaurant. They've been in business since 1938, serving up great food. And if you can't make it over there, you can pick up some at alsbeef.com as well. No, we don't get anything for saying this. Maybe an extra sandwich here or there, but that's about it, folks. Maybe some extra fries. It's just our favorite. We want to share that with you. Nice round of applause for Al's Beef. And by the way, if you're just tuning in the last segment, Vacation Buddies made a nice offer to the people out there that are listening to this show with the great Tim Brando. And if you can answer this simple trivia question, which of these NFL running back superstars, we'll say Hall of Famers, because even one of those is in the College Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, which of these was known as Sweetness? Was it A, Herschel Walker, B, Bo Jackson, C, Franco Harris, or D, Walter Payton? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. That's for Vacation Buddies. Now, they are not affiliated with this station, but they want you to travel, have a good time. You have a shot at a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, which one of these football superstars was known as Sweetness? Was it A, Herschel Walker, B, Bo Jackson, C, Franco Harris, or D, Walter Payton? 888-576-5777. All right, back here with the great Tim Brando. Tim is a superstar broadcaster, 42 plus years in the business, calling for ESPN, Fox, and CBS, etc., so forth, with Fox right now, Fox Sports. He's been doing it for a long, long time, and Tim is one of the best in the business. I really enjoy listening to Tim's broadcast. He and Devin, got to tell you, man, it's really, really good stuff. Really, I guess, illustrates the game in a way that even if you're not watching it, you can still visualize it, and that is an art. It's a lost art. Got to tell you, folks, there's no ums, no uhs, none of this filler word crap. It's just good, hard-hitting description of what's going on in the games. And Tim, of course, welcome back to the show. And I want you to pick up right where you left off in the last segment, talking about time slots. The time slots are really a big deal. I want you to pick that up. Go ahead.
The evolution of the good news for Fox was they made a lot of money on it. Okay, they made a lot of money by selling those games to CBS and NBC, but they did take a little bit of a ratings hit. So you got to give and get to some extent in this confounding business we call sports television.
Right. What about the Big 12? Where do they fit in the grand scheme of things in the big picture? Because it looks like it's the SEC and Big 10 that are running the show. Where does the Big 12 fit into this picture in the long run?
Well, they are running the show. The SEC and the Big Ten are running the show. By contract, they're running the show in terms of what's going to be done with the CFP. And by the way, the commissioners of the other leagues signed off on that. But to answer your question, I think the Big 12 is in a very strong third position. I think it's in a better position than the ACC.
Yes.
Albeit the ACC having Clemson this year, which is going to be a contender for the national championship, in my view. And North Carolina's got the Belichick storyline that they can feed off of, which will get a lot of viewership and a lot of buzz going around the sport. But the Big 12, with Deion doing what he's done in Colorado, with programs that have been solvent for a really long time, just getting better and better, it seems. Iowa State, Kansas State, Texas Tech is going to be, I think, a lightning rod this year with all the money that they spent in NIL. I mean, they got a billionaire that has just opened the pocketbooks and said, okay, you guys come. I mean, they're spending money, the kind of money that they spend at Ohio State and at LSU and at Georgia for players. And Texas Tech's going to be a heck of a story this year. So I think the Big 12 is in a tremendous position. BYU's not going to go anywhere. Utah struggled last year, but I think they're going to be fine. The only issue really that the Big 12 has is the lack of strong market sizes, other than Colorado, because of the Denver factor and also because of Deion Sanders and his being such a polarized personality. People are either rooting hard for him or rooting hard against him. But in terms of just the level of play, the teams that we see, I mean, I mentioned Kansas. That was a team that was ranked preseason top 25 a year ago. They returned most of that talent, and it was Kansas that beat Colorado and cost them a chance to play in the Big 12 title game last year. They lost a lot of close games, but Kansas State, Iowa State, Arizona State, these are all really good football teams to go along with Colorado. People predicted when Oklahoma and Texas left the Big 12 for the SEC that the Big 12 was dead. They're anything but. In fact, I'd argue the commissioner, Brett Yormark, of that league just outworked the Pac-12 to such a point that Larry Scott, the former commissioner of the Pac-12, had run them into a financial ditch trying to run a network without a network partner. The Big Ten had Fox, and the SEC had ESPN, and the Pac-12 tried to do it on their own. You see what happened. They're out of business.
What I find, real quick, let's just cover this before you have to go. What I find is that, in my opinion, the Big 12, top to bottom, is arguably the most balanced and probably the most difficult conference to play against. What are your thoughts?
It is, and I'd say the most entertaining.
Yes.
Because you just don't know from game to game. Like, UCF struggled last year. Gus Malzahn decided to leave and be offensive coordinator at Clemson, which is, I guess, good for him at this stage of his career. But Scott Frost has now returned, and you know what he did with UCF.
That's right.
Let's see what happens. But, from Orlando and that program to what we might see going on with Deion in Colorado, and the predicted exit by so many NFL pundits that he'd leave when Shador and Shiloh left, that was clearly a fraud. He wants to coach in college, and he loves coaching at Colorado. So he's going to be around, I think, for the long haul. And as I mentioned, all those teams, this Arizona State, Iowa State game in Dublin coming up on the 23rd, a little earlier. I think they play at noon on the same day that we're at Kansas, Devin and I. That Farmageddon matchup, which is usually at the end of the year, is going to be played now at the beginning of the year. And I think the winner of that game could possibly be the team to watch that will contend with Texas Tech and Arizona State for the Big 12 title. But if I happen to be wrong and Kansas State wins the game, I could say the same thing about K-State because they're so good. And they got a sophomore quarterback that Avery Johnson, who is just a dynamic talent, very similar to the kid at Nebraska, Dylan Raiola. Really well worth watching. So if you're a fan of all of college football and you want to see just entertaining games that are down to more games that are one-score games week in and week out. That's the league to watch, no doubt about it. But the viewing habits of most college fans is I'm watching my team. Okay, I'm not watching anybody else. That's the way. Sal, I was at the airport coming back from our seminar, college football seminar at Fox, and I'm starting my 12th season there after 18 years at CBS and 9 years at ESPN prior to that, 3 years at Turner in between the ESPN and CBS stop. And during those years when I was at Turner, I was doing SEC football in the early window for the syndicator Raycom Sports. I'd been doing SEC football for basically 30 years of my career, whether at ESPN, Raycom, and then CBS. If you polled most fans of that conference, they would tell you that Tim Brando retired in 2013. because they watch their teams. They watch the SEC.
Right.
And I'll see somebody from my hometown. Hey, Tim, what are you doing at the airport? Haven't you retired? I'm like, no, I'm starting my 12th year at Fox.
All right, Tim, I want you to hold that thought. We're going to go to break real quick. Folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus with the great Tim Brando.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down:
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Again, folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, or prior guests, or recorded shows, which, again, could be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, plus all other streaming platforms. Big welcome back to everybody on Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure you check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun at Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And also, while you're at thesportscircus.com, make sure you check out the store. Of course, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. And lots of great American-made items over there, and they range from hats, hoodies, T-shirts, and travel mugs, and coffee mugs, and mouse pads, and pillows, and all kinds of great stuff. Tell you what, folks, if you mention the Sports Circus's Ringmaster Sal, that's me, you'll get an extra 10% off of anything that you pick up at thesportscircus.com's store. All right. All right. And welcome back to everybody again. Everybody that's on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody on TV, thanks for joining us on all of our cable providers, network providers, as well as our independent affiliates, Hotel TV, where applicable as well, those cable and select markets. And we are back here with the great Tim Brando. And Tim was just telling us about when he's traveling through the airport, and maybe someone says, hey, I thought you retired because maybe you did this conference or that conference or whatnot. And Tim, I want you to pick up right where you left off in the last segment.
If I'm in the Big 10 area, if I'm in the Big 12 area, they're locked and loaded on me. Okay, so that's just the way college fans are and have always been. It's really, I think, what makes it more fun than the NFL, because fans view their teams as not just their teams, but their way of life.
Yes.
That school represents my way of life, and my way of life is better than your way of life. Okay? and that's where the tribalism really shows up big time. So I have no problem dealing with those SEC fans in my neighborhood saying, well, we thought you had retired. I'm fine telling them, hey, no, I'm still gainfully employed and enjoying what I'm doing. I'm getting to go to places like the Rose Bowl, the Big House, the Horseshoe, places where I had not been prior to moving over to Fox. But that's the way it is. That's the way it truly is.
And I have to say, honestly, with the vested interest that the fans have, I don't care what conference you're in. It doesn't matter where you're at in America. The reality is people have gone to college. People spend time at their universities. They go back and relive the great memories that they've had. And they also love the idea of going back to school as a grad, almost as if, hey, look, I paid my dues here. In the NFL, we don't have that dynamic because you have pro teams, you have fans that go to these games. Yes, they may live in the cities, or they have family that live in the cities, or they just like the colors. Just like they say, well, the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. Whatever the case, I don't really care. I guess my point in all of this is that when I look at these games on the pro side, I say, okay, the games on TV, yeah, they're fun, they're loud, I guess, whatever, but it's a very, very different dynamic when you're watching a college football game. And when you're at a college football game, the dynamic from the marching band, the pregame concert from the band, the postgame or the halftime concert for the band, the postgame concert for the band, all of that stuff is a lot of fun. And again, if you have a vested interest, or maybe your kids go to school there, maybe your friends go, maybe your family members have gone, maybe the university or college has done something great for the town, and they're maybe great in research. Maybe they're great in this and great in that. And here's an interesting thing. We think of agriculture, right? And Tim, I'd be willing to bet that most people wouldn't know the answer to this question. And really what it is which of these universities is number one in America in agriculture? That's right, agriculture. And when you think of those, you're thinking, well, geez, who the heck's going to be number one in agriculture? I mean, is it going to be maybe Iowa or something like that? Or is it going to be maybe something in the Corn Belt? That's the first thing you think of, right? That's actually the first thing that I think of. Well, a bit of irony is that the number one school, as previously reported in agriculture, believe it or not, is the University of Florida. That's right. It's the University of Florida. I never would have known that. I tell people this one all the time. I give people a chance to take 10 guesses. I say, I'll give you 10 guesses. You're not going to get it. You think of Florida, you think of, you could put a golf ball across, I guess, the entire state. And maybe, Tim, if we have time, we'll get into your golf game, but I know you're a good golfer. But the reality is, you don't really think of Florida as being an ag state. Maybe you think of Florida as equestrian, like they have in Central Florida and North Florida, beautiful rolling hills, beautiful, beautiful country. But you'd never think that the University of Florida would be first, nonetheless, in agriculture. Number 2 was Ohio State. I only do that because I'm a fellow Big Ten guy. However, but they're very good in ag. And number 3, as I understood, as previously reported, believe it or not, is Colorado State University. And number 4, in fact, I strike that. It was Texas A&M and then Colorado State University, number 4. But you really wouldn't think of, I don't know. Most people wouldn't really think of Colorado State even being in the top whatever in anything except maybe aerospace or whatnot, because the Air Force Academy is very, very nearby, better yet, just a little bit south there. And you would think of aerospace and this kind of thing and whatever. And I guess my point in all of this is that people have a vested interest at the university level. And so it brings a very different dynamic in the grand scheme of things. And as we look at the grand scheme of things for colleges, we say, okay, now you've got scholarships, you've got universities for specializing in this or specializing in that. But when it comes to college football, more particularly, I believe that college football games are more exciting and the fans just have a hell of a lot more at stake. And maybe they're supporters for the Alumni Association or whatever, just like you see in other universities. And even those ones that I mentioned earlier, like Ohio State, those guys happen to have what? Well, they've got enormous dollars flowing in to see if they can buy, or better yet, win a national title of sorts. Right? They didn't like it, of course, when the fact that Michigan won the national title. They said, well, there was somebody that was sign stealing and all this other crap. And it seemed to me, from what I seem to remember from an interview that I had seen before, somebody had said something about, I guess, a wide receiver or somebody from Ohio State was apparently one that made some kind of an allegation against the University of Michigan. And it seemed like that complaint maybe stemmed from that. Gee, I wonder why. And then what they do, they said, well, after Michigan won and Jim Harbaugh won the national title, well, apparently they said, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to win the next year. Gee, how much money can you spend? I'd love to see on that line item expenditures where all the money's been going for years and years and years at Michigan, when, frankly, we haven't really seen a line item. And this is before the whole NIL thing. But then again, that's another discussion. I completely digress, Tim. And look, I'm a Big Ten guy, and I have to tell you, I take my lumps with my Purdue Boilermakers. Seriously. Well, and I love the idea of going to the different games and the different places. I mean, I watch my undergrad, and boy, and I really struggle with it because, boy, Purdue is just terrible. But guess what? They'll be better. They have to be because they lost everything except one game last year. But the fans have a vested interest because a lot of them went to the universities or their kids went to the schools too.
Yeah. You're going to be happy with the new hire at Purdue. Trust me, he's going to do a good job.
That's what I understand. Hey, listen, Tim, I appreciate you taking the time to come onto the circus today. It is a circus, and we prove it every day. Of course, a nice round of applause for Tim Brando. And, folks, of course, you can catch Tim on those games of the week. You could find him on Big Fox. You can find him on Fox Regional. Tim is all over the place. I have to tell you, I really enjoy Tim's broadcast of the games, and really describes the games well, really shows them out well. And let's face it, in the grand scheme of things, it is hard to call a game. Folks, it's a lot harder than what you think. Tim's been doing this for, 42, 45 years, whatever the hell it is. And he's just one of those guys that he's really easy on the ears. My favorites, and of course, Tim and I talked about this before the show, and my favorite broadcaster for college football games historically was the great Keith Jackson. Of course, Keith always gets a nice round of applause here. And Keith was one of those guys that he just called the game with such, such clarity, such excitement. And it was great. Oh, Nelly! There was nothing like listening to Keith call the games because he called them, and he made them fun. He made you feel like you were at the game. And there are certain guys in baseball, football, basketball, hockey that do the same thing. And I say that Tim Brando is one of those guys that makes you feel like you're actually at the game. And, of course, Tim and Devin, a wonderful duo for Fox Sports on, whether it's it's Big Fox or Regional Fox, whatever it is, Fox 1, Fox 2. I just have to say that I go out of my way to watch those games because I really enjoy the broadcast. And there are some people in the broadcast world that, for me personally, I just can't, for the life of me, I cannot bring myself to listen if I hear somebody's, in particular, somebody's voice. I'm not going to mention any names. If I hear somebody's voice and they're calling a game, I immediately boo it. I just, for the life of me, can't bring myself to listen to certain broadcasters, and I actually have to turn the volume down or put it on mute and put a different game on, maybe on a different station or something, maybe on my telephone or whatever. I just can't do it. But, look, for baseball, it was Hawk Harrelson or it was the great Vince Scully. In hockey, it was Pat Foley or even Doc Emmerich calling great games. And in basketball, it was Chick Hearn. Chick Hearn, the Lakers broadcaster, was the best of the best of the best. Even Marv Albert, right there with him. But I have to say, Tim Brando, for me, really calls a tremendous game in football. And folks, if you want to see where he is, or better yet, if you want to hear his broadcast, check out the Fox Sports schedule. And you'll be able to find out where Tim Brando is going to be calling his games, where he's at in America. Got to tell you, he is one of the greats, and it's always a pleasure having the great Tim Brando on the show. Let's round of applause for Tim. And that's going to do it for today's show, folks. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone. Wow!
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.